Hey, what's up? Today we are talking a little bit about budget optimization and which budgets work best. This is actually a question we get a lot of what budget should we use, how much should we use. Um, we're gonna focus mainly on what budgets there are, getting a good understanding of when to use those type of budgets and the kind of the pros and cons of each one and a little bit of a secret on how to keep your campaigns moving forward when you increase budget, because we see that a lot on Facebook. When you increase budget, when you make changes to an ad set that's doing really well, sometimes causes it to perform not as well. So we're going to talk a little bit about some ways around that and best practices, some pros and cons. So let's jump right into it. Our first budget that most of you are probably pretty familiar with is the daily budget. And the daily budget is a really awesome way to run your campaigns. I actually, that's kind of my preference, is I like to go with a daily budget. I like to calculate out how much money I want to spend for the month and run a daily budget. Couple cons with that. Sometimes it will underspend, sometimes it seems to spend a little bit quicker than what I thought, and it's kind of hard to control how much budget you're kind of allocating. So you have a little bit less control on that spend. It seems to vary a little bit more. Um, the pros, though, are it's super easy to change. So when you're at a spot where you need to decrease or add to a budget because you're seeing low performance or high performance, super easy to get in there and change that budget, and you have a easy expectation, and so it's a little bit easier to hop in. Another pro is that it seems to be a little bit quicker to spend than the other budgets. So the fact that you can expect that money to be spent is a really good thing that you can kind of look forward to. But make sure you keep an eye on that, because every once in a while you'll see a little shift. If it's hard to get reach or something's going on, you might see those daily budgets have a little bit of a problem, and then it kind of throws your budgeting amount off. So you want to keep a close eye when you're doing a daily budget. I recommend it for people who are in their campaign a couple times a week, if not every day, making sure that things are going through and watching their updates and keeping track of their CPLs. It's a good budget to be able to play around that way when you're paying a lot of close attention to your campaigns. I like to use it in lookalike ad sets and broad, and anything that I've seen that I know works, I like to use a daily budget in it. For the other budgets, there's a lifetime budget, and the lifetime budget's a really good budget when you've got personal data lists, something that you're not going to be hopping in and changing a lot, something that you want to have a clear expectation of not spending over a certain amount. That's something that's really good about it, is it won't spend over the amount that you put in, and it will end the campaign either on the end date or on the end of the budget. So that's really awesome. You give Facebook the ability to spend that money in the quantities and times it feels that it's necessary to get a certain lead, and that will make sure that you don't overspend. But sometimes I've seen some troubles on controlling when it spends. So it can be spending a lot at the beginning of the month and then kind of coasting it at the end. It could be doing the opposite. It's a little bit harder to control when it spends. So some tips with that maybe is tuning down the dates of the spend. So making sure it's in short-term increments. It's ad sets that you are only going to run until the end of it, and then you're going to turn it off. Something that you doesn't require a lot of changes during that time to the ad or to the ad set, and you got to make sure that it's optimized well. So make sure it's going with the goals that you're setting, and that's kind of what I would recommend for when you do something like a lifetime budget. The last budget that I kind of wanted to dive into a little bit today is the campaign budget. So the campaign budget is obviously something that's a little bit newer. We've talked about it once or twice. It uses the daily budgets, But what you're doing is you're giving Facebook permission to optimize your ad sets. So basically, or to allocate the budgets for your ad sets in the way that it sees that it's best optimized. So the things that are getting the most results are going to get the most money. And obviously that's something that we would be doing as marketers as well, as seeing, okay, which one has the best results. But if it's not optimized correctly, then you're going to have some misunderstanding between Facebook and you, and it might be optimizing for something where you're not wanting it to optimize for. So if you had like a traffic campaign and you had a couple ad sets in there driving traffic to your website, and one's optimized for landing pages and one's optimized for clicks, it's going to be a lot easier to get clicks on your ad versus landing page views on your website. It's going to cost a lot less for those clicks. So if Facebook, what they try to do to combat that is that they will send you an error. You're not going to get your ads sent forward because they don't have the same optimization goals. So that's one way that Facebook helps you make sure that it's optimized correctly. But if you just switch it to clicks and you're expecting landing page views, obviously you're not going to be seeing the results that you want. So make sure that everything is optimized correctly to have the right expectation and get the right results. Some pros about the campaign budget is it's easy to implement. It's really good for new marketers because it shows you which ad set is going to be performing best. And I like to use it a lot when I have new data that I'm not quite sure. I don't have any gut feeling on which one's going to work, or I haven't run any tests on it in the past, so I don't really know what to do with it. That's when I like to use it in a campaign budget. It's really nice because Facebook does the work for you. So keep that in mind when you're running your campaign budgets. For a little bit about the cons is that you don't have control, or as much control as you'd like. And sometimes I've felt that, I've been in there and I'm not getting the results that I want, so I want to allocate more budgets to a different ad set that I feel like would perform better just because I have a gut feeling, and I have to take the whole campaign off, or I'll duplicate a whole new campaign and turn that one off and turn off campaign budgets because I don't have the control I want to be able to add to the ad sets that I want to and decrease from the other ad sets. So that's a little bit of a con there, and you just have to make sure like everything lines up perfectly in those campaigns, and so, or Facebook will alert you and your ads won't go off, or you won't be able to get the budgets down. So you got to make sure that everything's optimized correctly and then everything matches up correctly so that you can be able to use a campaign budget. So there's some control that Facebook throws in there that sometimes you don't really want to have to deal with. So those are the three budgets that I wanted to talk about today. And I've got one last tip. I'm not going to go over how much you should spend on each ad set because obviously that depends on your audiences, but we can kind of do a training that we jump into that, or you can ask us questions. We'd love to answer those. So you can send us a personal message and we'll try to do our best on helping you with budgets and expectations that way for audience size and whatnot. But something that I see a lot of people do wrong in marketing is that they see Facebook working and they get really excited. And I've even done this where you're just like, man, this is killer results. I've got such low cost per leads. I'm going to bump this up and I'm going to send so much money to it and I'm going to double my budget. Boom, double it. What happens? Facebook's results go down. And the reason why is because it's such a big change to your ad set that everything has to get re-optimized with the algorithm. So what we like to do here at Silver Street is we try to go for 25% increases. If you go over that amount, you can expect when you make these changes that you're going to have some decrease in your results, especially if you make a really big change, because it takes a couple weeks to get re-optimized. So you might see a couple weeks of falling a little bit when you increase your budgets by a lot. But we see that 25% increase by each ad set is the best kind of way to increase. And we'll increase that. I like to make budget optimizations every 2 weeks or so. Sometimes if I'm seeing a decrease in results, then I lay back a little bit more and try to go once a month. But just keep in mind that you might see that. So some ways to combat that are you can change your optimization goals, you can change your budgets, you can create you can duplicate your ad set and create new ones with a new budget, and that will be a new ad set, so it'll be a little bit slow to start, but you won't have to deal so much with the changes of the optimization kind of lag that you get. So that's what we have for today. If you guys have any questions, remember you can always comment. You can also find us on YouTube. We've been doing some really cool screen shares that a lot of people have liked. I'm going to be talking a little bit about some of our bandit signs going forward on a YouTube screen share and what I've seen work for some of my clients and how to implement it. So make sure you guys hop on and catch some of those. And we can't wait to see another time with you guys. So make sure you leave your comments and let us know if you guys need anything. All right, we'll see you next time.